The next thing Alfreya does is directly launch a magical attack against the elves. The Great Elder fights back, but the impact creates a huge explosion that gets her trapped in pure crystal. On the other hand, the village shrine maiden, REWRITTEN, falls from where they are and lands in the forest. Once she wakes up, everyone asks for the Great Elder's whereabouts, pretty alarmed by the situation. Despite being shaken herself, she keeps her composure and makes everyone calm down with her authority, saying that she'll explain it all at once, so she asks everyone to gather. They ask her what to do with the humans they've captured, and she almost dismisses it until the realization hits her, and she stays thinking about it. Now we see Kai, Jian, and the others, who are in the elven forest after what happened. The last time they heard from Dante was yesterday morning, and since then they've lost contact and don't know his whereabouts. Jian mentions he would have been well aware of the dangers of the elven forest, but despite that, he still made an arbitrary decision like that. Kai says that there's a high chance that this was instigated by someone, and Kubere is probably an elven spy. After all, if they hide their ears, they look no different from humans. If that's the case, there may be other enemies within the Io rebel army, so they'll have to investigate themselves. As they advance through the forest, they find a weapon graveyard that definitely belongs to the Io rebel army. That means Dante and the others fell into the trap right there, though Kai informs them that the real trap is right above them. Jean is surprised to realize this, since if he hadn't mentioned it, she would have overlooked it in the sunlight through the trees. Kai mentions that there were records of it back in his world, that elves use multiple magic traps all at once. Rinny then tells him that she's smelling something, and it's probably an elf. Everyone follows the path she shows them, and Kai assures Jean that this is the right path, as Rinna has undergone special training to sense magic. As they advance further, all 6 of them step on a magical circle that teleports them somewhere else. Everyone's confused after that, and Phelan comments that it seems like it's the elven forest. Kai explains that thing earlier was a gate, a spell used by the Celestials to teleport. Just then, a fairy comes out from the bushes, chasing a butterfly without sparing them a glance. Phelan warns not to approach her, saying that she's a Celestial for sure, a great fairy. The clumsy little fairy accidentally bumps into Ashran, finally acknowledging their presence, but confused to sense no magic from any of them. He clarifies to the little girl that they're not elves, but humans, and this makes the fairy panic as she runs away, believing that the humans will eat her. She runs directly towards the entrance of the Celestials, and when they follow her, they're stopped by the guards, who threaten them with their weapons. Before they can do anything, an order from above makes them lower their weapons, and a woman comes down the stairs, saying that she never would have guessed that they'd be able to activate the gate. Jean immediately recognizes her as the assistant commander, Kubire, a Celestial spy. No beating around the bush, Jean asks her what happened to Dante and the others. Kubire assures them they're alive, explaining that they've inhaled the pollen from a colony of paralysis plants, so they won't move a finger for a few days. Jean clarifies that their demand is that she releases the hostages, and Kubire accepts under only one condition, and it's for them to fight against the angels. After all, for the ones who defeated the hero of the demons, it should be an easy task. Kai wants to know what this is all about, since he thought the Celestials were a close-knit race, and it doesn't make sense that the elves betray the angels. Kubire clarifies that the angels betrayed them first, not elaborating further as she guides them to Ryren. Once there, Ryren informs them that this is the first time that humans have entered the elf village, and they won't be welcomed, but they should take pride in doing so. After a proper introduction, she asks them if they're really the ones who defeated the hero of the demons. Jean confirms this, and Ryren mentions that the item she dons under her armor is an elven garment, so she wants to know where she acquired it. Jean explains that she got it along the borders of the Urza Federation. It was a magic item that the demons stole from the Celestials, but they ambushed them and acquired it, though it was more than 10 years ago. Ryren then says that she'll let it slide this time, since it wasn't directly stolen from an elf. She then proposes a contract with her, saying that they'll return the hostages, but in return, they'd like them to rescue their great elder from Lord Alfreya. Ryren explains that Lord Alfreya has changed, for one who was as warm and gentle as he, to suddenly demand that elves, dwarves, and fairies be subservient to angels. It wasn't something they could accept. The great elder and her went to speak to him on behalf of the other races, but he would hear none of it, and captured the great elder. She barely managed to escape, but he will no longer hear their words. Ryren says that she'll give them some guidance, but this is something that they humans will do on their own. Kai assumes that an elf cannot directly run to the rescue and fight with the angels, and Ryren confirms this. Phelan then asks for the proof that this is not a trap, since if they go through with this and get ambushed by both the elves and angels, they'd be annihilated. Kubire suddenly says that she'll give them her life, and she'll accompany them to the Angel Palace. If, at any time, they feel that Ryren isn't telling the truth, they're free to capture, kill, or do whatever they wish with her. Phelan cuts her off, saying that's unacceptable, and they shouldn't think that her single life is worth the 6 of theirs, plus the 20 hostages. She demands to increase the number of lives on their end, or choose a more valuable life to put on the line. REWRITTEN then says that her own life should be enough in that case, and after ignoring Kuberei's concerns, she accepts to accompany them. She says that if they have any doubts, then they can take her life on the spot. Jean accepts, and REWRITTEN eases Kuberei by saying that it wasn't the fairies nor the dwarves who had their great elder captured. It was the elves. If they don't do anything, they're tacitly accepting the angels as their masters, so that's her decision. Even if the humans were to fail and anger Lord Alfreya further, her one life will settle things smoothly. They must avoid a civil war among the Celestials at all costs, so the rest of the races should not take action yet. REWRITTEN commands all fairies and dwarves to return to their posts, and as the hidden creatures leave, they create some commotion. She then calls Silk, the little fairy from before, who uses fairy magic to provide some platforms that can be used over water. Kai recognizes that type of magic, and REWRITTEN rushes them to get on it, saying that she'll explain the details. Later at night, Kai is taken off guard by REWRITTEN, who suddenly says that she doesn't understand why humans choose to stay awake when they need to light a fire to do so. She assures she won't attack him while he sleeps, since they won't make any moves until their contract is up. Kai eases at that, and she also mentions that she heard from Jean that he and that girl over there were the ones who defeated Vanessa. Knowing that, she asks if his power will work on the Lord of Heaven, Alfreya, but Kai just mentions that it sounds as though she's asking him to defeat him. REWRITTEN then says that when they head for the Angel Palace tomorrow, he'll surely end up fighting him. If the power that defeated Vanessa is not enough, they'll just end up dying together. She asks him to keep this in mind, saying that if he runs out of fear, she won't let him leave this forest alive. Kai accepts this, and decides to ask something as well, asking her if she knows a human named Sid. REWRITTEN seems really confused, not knowing who he's talking about, so Kai decides to leave the conversation there, thinking that even the elf shrine maiden doesn't know of him. He then remembers Vanessa's last words, saying that the world will be recreated, and Sid called this phenomenon world reincarnation. Someone caused the world reincarnation to occur, altering the world, so he has to find that being. It must be one of the other 3 heroes, and Kai suspects of the hero of the Celestials, the Lord of Heaven, Alfreya. The next day, Saki sends a radio message to headquarters, informing them that they will soon enter the Angel Palace. She hopes their messages are reaching headquarters safely, since it's pretty far from where they are. REWRITTEN informs the group that the Angel Palace is right above this great tree, even though humans can't see it. There are a few floating fortresses, but the one considered the Angel Palace is the one above there, and Lord Alfreya is there. She creates a double-layer rig, and Kai mentions that it's quite elaborate, wondering if it's a countermeasure against humans. REWRITTEN just asks who would be afraid of humans, clarifying that the ones they're on alert for are demons, spirits, and mythical beasts. Kai mentions that the demons felt the same way, so the angels probably have the majority of their army stationed at the border, and only a handful to protect the Angel Palace as well. REWRITTEN seems impressed by his knowledge, and she teleports them directly into the Angel Palace. There, she immediately wonders what that smell is, and soon they find a battlefield on fire, full of injured angels. Not wanting to waste any time, REWRITTEN continues, and the place is so confusing that Phelan is grateful to have the elf's guidance. As they teleport again, they barely manage to dodge a sudden magical attack, which came from the War Angel, Vicious. She despises not only humans, but REWRITTEN as well, and assures to be a servant to the Lord of Heaven, Alfreya, acting accord his will. REWRITTEN asks her if she was the one who attacked the angels outside, and Vicious says that they were disloyal fools who refused to obey Lord Alfreya. The Lord of Heaven himself handed down their punishment, and soon the execution of the great elder of the elves will take place. It'll serve as a message to the elves, fairies, and dwarves, letting them know that they're inferior to the angels, so they must bow down. Without another word, she starts attacking them, but the group manages to backfire. Feline asks Jean to leave Vicious to them so they can go on ahead, and Jean accepts this. Soon, Kai, Jean, Rina, and REWRITTEN leave the place, and Vicious is unable to stop them thanks to Phelan and the others. However, the group is soon attacked by another angel, but Rina manages to stop him. REWRITTEN recognizes him as Raffaello, and Rina quickly asks them to go on ahead, saying that she'll catch up to them later. Kai and the other 2 get to another platform, and he notices that Alfreya is apparently protected by dozens of barriers. As REWRITTEN inspects the place, Jean mentions that it's only to expect, since he's the hero of the Celestials. She also decides to apologize to him for leaving the most dangerous battle, the one with Vanessa, to him. She has wanted to say that for some time, and she assures him that she'll be fighting alongside him this time. Once REWRITTEN modifies all barriers, the three of them are teleported to the area where the Great Elder is trapped. They immediately approach her, and REWRITTEN calls up to her, making her react. The Great Elder is shocked to see her, but before anything, Alfreya shows up, saying that the heavens are filled with rage. He claims that those without wings, the earth dwellers, those who look up at the heavens, must not disobey. All blessings come from the heavens and are bestowed upon the earth, and this is just divine providence, but only the angels are entitled to receive such blessings. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, then subscribe to support the channel. Comment the word angels to prove that you stayed till the end, since not a lot of people do.